Good evening everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, welcome for the first time. And tonight we're going to be looking at some monsters and some scary creatures for my reading so far in the month of October. Stay tuned. Okay everyone, so before we get going, I just want to announce that tomorrow night I'm having a live chat, not just a horror chat, but a live chat with an awesome booktuber. By this time I should have actually posted the thumbnail. So yeah, it's going to be Saturday night, not Sunday night. And I'm not going to tell you the channel, but I'm going to give you a hint. And his name is Jim. And he's known to have probably the best voice on booktube. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Please tune in for that. And you'll find it on my community page and on his community page. So we're going to have a lot of fun chatting about all sorts of stuff, including horror, including Stephen King, of course. And I know that he loves some classic horror as well. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so a common theme that seems to be running through my reading so far this month, with the 3 books that I've completed, is about monsters. It's about scary monsters and creatures of the night. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun. Done one reread which I'm going to talk about. But yeah, let's get to it. But let's start off with what I am currently reading. I'm about 60% of the way through. This is Rotten Tommy by David Sodergren. And I'm reading this as part of a buddy read with Angel from Angel Can't Read, and we're going to have a live discussion later on in the month. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the book so far. It is weird, it's freaking creepy, some parts it's like you in a fever freaking dream. Gory as usual with David Sodergren. I'm loving the story. It's kind of like a mystery. It's not the same as the other books I've read by him, but they've all been kind of different. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go into the plot. I'll do that at the end of the month when I go through my wrap up, and of course also when I have a chat with her live. But it's a very good story. I'm not sure if I like it as much as some of his others, but I'm having fun so far. So that is Rotten Tommy. Not a very nice Tommy. It's very rotten. And it's best to stay inside. Shut the door and close the windows and stay inside. And yeah, I will tell you this much. It's about like kind of a cursed object thing. Cursed videotape. But it's insane. As I said, it's like sometimes some parts like literally in some kind of fever dream. And you're reading. I don't know what the hell's going on. But I'm enjoying it. So yeah, it's Rotten Tommy. Okay, and the 3 books I have read so far, and this is in no particular order. It's been no bad book so far. The first one is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And it's by Alvin Schwartz and drawings by Stephen Gamble. Now, I've only read the first out of 3. This is like kind of all 3 books in one, but including the original illustrations, which is important. I'm going to talk about that. And yeah, I wouldn't say that they, as an adult, because they're written for children, I wouldn't say they're terrifying for me. They're creepy, and there's some that I didn't care for so much. But it's illustrations by Stephen Gamble, and I'm going to put some up there. Yeah, I'm going to put some up there. They are freaking terrifying, and for me, they just made this book. And it made it an interesting experience. Look, the stories are very short, like 1 or 2 pages, and they're meant to be read. A lot of these stories are meant to be read like kind of around the campfire, and I know that I never had the privilege as a South African of reading this when I was young, and I know in America it's kind of like it was a big thing when you were young child to read these stories and kind of get frightened. Because I know that as a young child, I would have probably been scared shitless, to be honest, with some of these tales. They are very gruesome, they're very dark. And yeah, that brings us to another thing. I found out this was one of the most banned books ever in the US. And you know, NJ is doing a thing with banned books and books that have been challenged and banned. Yeah, these stories are really dark. I think they would terrify the crap out of kids. Should they be banned? Hell no. I think a group of very overprotective parents got together, didn't like what they were seeing, and yeah, they're the kind of parents that want to protect their child. They want to protect their child at every cost. Maybe not giving the child enough credit for being able to engage with subjects that are challenging. And so, yeah, we don't want this in the schools. We don't want this. Instead of maybe realizing and reflecting in on themselves, maybe it's their own insecurities. And as I said, not giving the children enough credit for being able to actually deal with stuff like this. That in the long run, it actually might be more healthy to cope with this. Yeah, I mean, the world is a dark place, and there are monsters out there. The other thing is, these stories actually also are cautionary tales, some of them, so they can kind of teach you things. So why not, as a parent? I can imagine, I've never had a child, but sit down and read some stories with them. Maybe discuss the stories. What's going on here? How does it make you feel? What can we learn from this? You know, kind of stranger danger. But yeah, they're dark, and the illustrations make them a hell of a lot darker. But also the idea of banning a book like this, and I know I did a little bit of research into it, it's just going to make the book a lot more popular. If you ban a book like this, your child is going to find some way to get hold of this book. Or if not get hold of this book, find a friend, they can read it together, a friend that's allowed to read the book. So to actually just try and pull the wool under the carpet and pretend it doesn't exist, it doesn't work like that. And yeah, give your children credit. They might be tougher than you think. So yeah, that's scary stories to tell in the dark. Frickin' love the illustrations to this one. Okay, next up I read Her Heart Beats for Ancient Beasts by Calvin Demmer. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this collection of stories, some more than others. Is the writing perfect? No. Does it drag you in to the story and make you want to read the story? Hell yes. You know, it's difficult to write a short story. It's probably the most difficult thing. It's more difficult than writing a novel, believe it or not, because you need to care about the characters, and you need to have a plot that you care about, and you want to know where the story is going. And in my opinion, this author has a very rare gift to drag you in almost immediately with characters that you kind of care about. You want to know what's going to happen, and he's got a very unique voice. He's got a very original voice, and his stories are so creative. And they're also so varied in terms of the kind of monsters that he presents, and also the settings where the stories take place. Now, I'm South African. I love Africa. I spent I just love going out in the African bush. The idea of the jungle, of the bush, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'm going to talk about that now, a couple of stories that take place in Africa. But there's different settings as well. It's a story in Egypt, the sand, and the desert. There's a story, it's almost a sci-fi horror story that I really enjoyed. It's very, very strange. It takes place in a kind of watery, underworld, watery thing. Very weird. A lot of these stories are very weird. But what I really respect about this collection is that you've got a variety of different kinds of horror. different kinds of dark fiction. There's also some body horror, which I really enjoy, and it's done right in this book. And I can't say there are any really weak stories, although there are a couple that I didn't care for as much, but that's like any collection for me. And 3 standouts for me. I really have to talk about these, because these stories blew me away. And as I said, the African setting. But the first one is called Never Sleep Again. Now there's a kind of African myth, a mythical creature, a cryptid, called the Tokolosh. And now what this author has done, as a South African, he's taken this creature and he's created a story here. A very gruesome, kind of brutal story, lots of body horror. And it's about sort of a monster under the bed kind of story. He's just taken it a step further. And as I said, the body horror and the brutality is very good in the story. But I could recognize it straight away as coming from the Tokolosh. And the second story, this was freaking brilliant. It's called Another Warrior in Paradise. And I never saw the ending coming. In a lot of these stories, a twist. And the thing you get in the ending is just like, whoa, where did that come from? And in this particular story, you've got a warrior in a tribe, African tribe. It's also a very brutal, very dark story. And he's got to basically accomplish these 3 tasks, and then he can go into paradise. And the tasks are brutal, but you care about this character for some reason, straight away. And his story is not long, they're quick reads. You're just drawn into this world, into this Africa, into this tribe, and into what this character has to do. And I'm not going to say anything more, because the ending is just wow. And finally, probably my favourite of the lot is a story called Forbidden Fruit. As an ex-South African field guide, one of the things I absolutely hate in this country is the poaching, with the rhino horns. And I worked in Kruger National Park, I worked in national parks, and the story is about a couple of poachers and their guide. And all I'm going to say is things go very wrong and take a turn for the worse for them. It's obviously going to happen, but I also never saw the ending coming, and it blew me freaking away. I'm kind of now, because it's Halloween, I didn't put these on my TBR, but I'm kind of thinking I might read Dark Celebrations if I get time, because I'm pretty sure there's kind of Halloween stories in here. Or I'm dying to read, but I might save this for next month, Through the Ravenous Night We Ride by Calvin Demmer, because the cover just speaks to me. One of the 2. Let me know what you think I should read down below. I know I asked you guys to vote earlier when I presented this author. All I can say is highly recommended. I didn't give it 5 stars. As I said, there's some stories I did not care about. I'm very stingy with giving 5 stars, so just be aware of that. I'd say maybe 4.5, rounded down to 4 for me. And the stories that I loved were some of the best short stories, and I think my wife would agree with me. Some of the best short stories I've ever read. Give this guy a go. Calvin Demmer, Her Heart Beats for Ancient Beasts. Okay, and to finish off, this is a 5-star for me. It's a book I haven't read since the 80s. This was a reread for me. And that is Salems Lot by Stephen King. And I love this cover. And it remains an absolute horror classic. It's in my top 10 Stephen King books of all time. It's not number 1. I know it's my wife's number 1. I know it's many people's number 1. It's not my number 1. But it's still absolutely awesome. It's the second book he's written. And it just deals so well with small town life. And building characters. And slow burn. And you get up to a point where, they build this small town. He builds this small town. Kind of piece by piece. It's like almost like a jigsaw puzzle. And the characters, even the secondary characters, become important. And when the shit hits a fan, by that stage there's a lot of scary stuff that's happened already. You invested in the characters, you invested in the story. If you have the patience, you know, if you're the kind of person that doesn't like character development and this building of the setting and this atmosphere, yeah, then you might throw it away. That's okay. But by the time, yeah, the monsters, all I'm going to say is by the time the monsters arrive, you are there, and it's terrifying. And there's some scenes in this story that are frickin' scary and haunting, and I'm not going to talk much more about it, because at the end of the month we can have another live chat. This is part of the 70s horror project, created by Greg from another Bibliophile Reads. I'm going to put all the links down below. I want you to be part of that conversation when you join. It'll be, of course, I'm afraid it's going to be spoilery, but if you've read the book and you want to take part in the discussion, then come join us. But yeah, not going to say too much more about this. I'm sure you all know. Yep, I don't have to tell you, if you look at the cover, what creatures and monsters we're talking about. Look at those fangs. Look at those eyes. Yeah, that's a powerful story. And I can understand why my wife puts it at #1, but I've got other favourites by my favourite author. So yeah, that's Salems Lot. Okay everyone, that's all I have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night to my channel to check out my chat with Jim, awesome Jim. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of these stories. Let me know what you think of these monsters. Let me know if you've got a bit of history with scary stories to tell in the dark. I want to hear from my American friends, because I believe it was a big part of the childhood in that country. You know, very nostalgic. So yeah, let me know what you feel. And until next time, take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers.